Digital agenda, a real objective for the Europe of tomorrow. We are speaking about this with Robert Madelin, Director General of Information Society and Media at the European Community. Mr. Madelin,
hello.
Digital agenda,
yes.
A very important objective. We have to run ahead this objective. We have some difficulties probably, and the crisis is not supporting us in our way.
It's clear that when you have a single fire, if you have an economic crisis, people say let's put the fire out before we deal with the bigger problems. What we are saying at the European Union level is you have to do both. And it's for me very significant that the European Council, when it met in July, not only tackled the economic crisis, but also asked us to give a very urgent progress report on the digital single market, which we bring to them for their October discussion. So we have to both fix the economic turmoil and build the future.
Digital agenda needs networks, needs services, and this means to take care of consumers, enterprises and public administration. And you, in your speech, you underlined the need for access to the new network and for bandwidth. All of us are looking for networking fiber, but the investments are very, very high, and the crisis, again, is an enemy for this. How the European community and the a new regulatory approach may sustain this objective?
So the first thing is to create a lower revenue risk for fiber investment. And you create a lower revenue risk by creating a better prospect of real use. You create real use for fiber by developing more high bandwidth benefits for citizens. That can come from e-government, from the use of ICT for local health at home rather than in the hospital, and many other examples. So I think that what we want to do is to build coalitions for really useful applications. That's one approach. The second approach is to reduce the cost of capital. The European Union will not pay 250 billion euros to buy a fiber network itself, but we have decided to invest in the poorer and more isolated regions several billion euros starting now through to 2020 to help the market to create new financial packages which will improve the prospect of getting the money. So we try to build the bridge from both ends.
So no public funding for network. This is a very important aspect, or not?
It's not no public funding, but we want the market and private investment to be the dominant provider. At the moment, current plans would cover 30 to 40% of investment needs for broadband fiber. We can see the market taking another 10s or 20% as the case develops, but there will be some public money in areas where there is market failure.
The European Union wants to develop in Europe a good and competitive market for the telecommunication system. But if we have a look on the fragmentation of the market, we note that, for example, in other sectors like the automotive or the airplanes, there is a strong tendency in concentration. No one wants monopoly, but competition must be sustained in some way. In telecommunication we have, for example, in China, very few operators for a very big market. Almost 3 or 4 operators in China, and in Europe we have almost 200 operators. This fragmentation could have very negative consequences in terms of efficiency of the market, and also for the interest of consumer. What do you think about this?
So I think that the market tends to concentrate at its own rate, and my colleagues look at that also from a competition perspective. And as you may have noticed in the press recently, concentration in the US is beginning to be challenged by competition regulators. So two messages. Firstly, we think the market can probably lead to more concentration in Europe, but it cannot be done by state intervention. And secondly, we don't want, as you were saying as well, monopoly for the sake of concentration. What I do think that we want is a more coordinated and perhaps cooperative regulatory environment. Very often the case for having separate national operators is because the national regulatory climate and therefore the market is different. We are definitely moving this year with the implementation of the third telecoms package in May of 2011 to reduce and we hope remove those obstacles between markets, and if we succeed that will enable greater concentration.
Let me insist about this aspect of competition. Is there something wrong in the operator's approach in terms of mistake probably? Is it correct to go ahead a system of competition between Europe and other global region, world region, instead that sustain a very sublocal competition in little national market? Yeah. Because the two things cannot be in parallel, in a parallel movement, of course. What do you think about this?
I think your question goes partly also to the content side of the e-communications world, because I think we can, as Europe, compete globally on content. It's clear that our telephone companies, the biggest of them, do compete as global investors, but the telecommunications services world at different levels of the internet is more or less open to European competition. So I would say that we should try to develop European world-class technology, applications, content and telecommunications providers. We have some, we need to do better, and a more coherent EU market and perhaps more concentration on the mobile side in particular could be part of that.
Digital agenda, we are on the way. Shall we get the target in terms of content and time?
I believe yes. I am determined the answer should be yes. As I said right at the beginning of our interview, the challenges, the distractions are very real, but there's a lot of support out there, not just from telecommunication employees, but also from engineers, from university people, from citizens who want us to succeed. So I think we can do it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Madelin.
Thank you.